This is
Two Writers
Talking Shit. Mel, how you doing?
Hey, John.
I know. John is my coffee name.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's that about?
Because, man, people get Saeed always wrong, bro. You know what I'm saying? It'll be Seed, Said, Saye. Like, I get everything. Like, you know what I'm saying? So when I go, I just, John. You can't mess up John. You can spell it however you want. Jon, John, Jhon, whatever you want to do.
I go by chemo.
Oh my God.
Because I was in Hawaii and somebody said it and I went, oh, it's beautiful. Is it Jim or some shit? It doesn't even mean anything in specific. You know?
So you have a coffee name too?
Yes.
I love it. Do you have a coffee name?
I don't have a coffee name, but I did have a Lebanese Italian drug dealer boyfriend named Chemo when I lived in London. And like, he combined like Kareem and Mario. Those were his two names.
Oh, okay.
Chemo. Anyways, he was disgusting. Don't worry about him.
I think it just means Jim.
Does it?
In Hawaiian or something.
Wow.
Something very simple. Whatever.
Well, that's fitting of you, wearing the Gold's Gym fit. Now look, all right, look. This is
to introduce our guest.
I know. Let me just get to it. Let me bring this up real quick. Hilliard Guess is one of the reasons I created a podcast. I tell him this all the time, and he doesn't. He's very humble. He'd be like, whatever. But there was a time I was working a shitty job. This is not too long ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
It's like 3 years ago. Yeah. And I used to sneak and listen to his podcast, Screenwriters Rant Room. During my shift, I would have one headphone in, whatever side my manager was in, it would be in the opposite ear. Oh. And I would wear a hoodie. We had Rasputin hoodies.
Black folks.
And I had my hoodie up, even in the summer.
Yeah.
And I had that one thing over there, and then I had my one ear out, and he would never see it. I would tuck the wire in under my hoodie.
Hilarious.
And I was listening to episodes of Screenwriters Rant Room. And our guest today on Two Writers Talking Shit is
with Melanie.
With Melanie and Saeed. Yeah. No, listen, they know now.
They should know.
Y'all know what it is.
Yeah.
Hilliard Guess. Now, listen. Actor.
Former. But go ahead.
I'm going through the list.
Okay.
Actor, writer, director, producer, motherfucking podcast legend.
Yes, sir.
Hilliard Guess.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to Two Writers Talking Shit.
Thank you guys for having me.
Come on, man.
I was telling you, Saeed, I've listened to all of your episodes.
Appreciate it.
You guys are doing a great job. You have a great voice. And I think the energy is great. It's hard to find that 1-2 punch, Lisa and I had that kind of chemistry. I'm still building it with Chris, trying to figure out how we're going to work. So it's hard to find them and to get it just right. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that. And one thing I was going to ask is like, what made you start the podcast? Like, because you have 400 episodes, which I'm going to get to, but what made you start the podcast in the first place?
Well, it came about because I was doing these workshops there used to be I think it's still around, used to be an organization called the Organization of Black Screenwriters. Mm-hmm. Half the black writers in town that are like my age and coming up came from there. Michael Ajakwe, a lot of those type of cats used to teach there. Dwayne Johnson Cochran, a lot of those people. I could go down to Lena Waithe, Ben Corey Jones, all of us went there at some point. Yeah. And so I used to come in and teach for the organization, and I would just it kind of came about out the blue. Lisa was already doing these presentations. Lisa, shout out to Lisa. And I've said this many times, and people are blown away when I tell them this. She's probably the best teacher I've ever seen in my entire life. Now, she's a teacher by trade. Yeah. And I've taken, Pilar, Jen Grisanti, Carla Iglesias, everybody, Sitfield, I'm that old. Yeah. And so nobody can touch Lisa.
That's tight.
She's that good.
That's dope.
And so I would just watch her and I'd be like, fuck, she's bad. And we'd be outside afterward, all in the parking lot, talking.
Congregating.
Our brothers be doing, like after church and shit.
After church.
Congregation.
You know what I mean? Just waiting to go get that food at the place. Look, sisters in the back with the cooking chicken, waiting to get in line. So it had that feeling to it. And we started, so I would just say shit. She'd be like, you've been at this for a long time. Like, you should probably do something. I'm like, me? And something you guys don't know, a lot of people don't know this, I didn't graduate from high school.
Wow.
I got my GED.
Wow.
Never went to college. The only college experience I've had is when I got into a program that was out of college, like the Cosby Fellowship.
Yeah.
So I've skipped all of that. I was just doing the work.
Yeah.
And so I've always felt extra like insecure about the fact that I didn't go to college and didn't graduate from high school, didn't get a education or whatever. And so I've always felt not quite worthy of what, like, you guys probably have degrees. And I've always just like, how can I possibly say I'm a pro when I haven't went to school? I know I've done that job. I know I sold that thing. I know I still never believed in it for myself.
Yeah.
And so she's like, you were just in Sundance. Won't you just tell them about that thing? And I'd be like, oh, okay. So I got up and I was like, well, what would I do different? I was like, I'm not going to be like, here's how you do it. I'm going to be like, here's where I fucked up. I hope I can cuss on this.
Hell yeah.
You know my mouth.
Yeah.
Well,
Talking shit, duh.
This is actually a religious podcast. If Saeed told you.
Exactly.
We are, believers of Jesus Christ.
Yes,
here are
indeed.
two writers talking shit, and we're here to spread
The gospel.
The gospel.
And so I was really, really insecure. So I was like, well, what am I going to do different? And I was like, okay. So I'm going to tell them, okay, here's how I got a script to Nichols. Here's how I got a script to Sundance. Whatever it was, here's the things I would do differently now. And then I would be like, years later, I ended up making my first film that went critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay, here's how I made that movie. Here's the mistakes I made, right? Don't do this. Here's how you can get more money. Here's how you can get a star in your film. Here's how you cast from this point of view. Here's how I just started doing this thing. And so everybody would congregate outside in the parking lot. Yeah. Brothers be doing, sisters. Yeah. And they'd be like, man, you need a fucking show, dude. You be killing it. And I was like, I always do that. Yeah. Even with the first film, I was like, And so my nephew, who I need to introduce you to one day, but you ain't really doing your rap no more, he had a show called Kevin Hates Hip Hop.
Tight.
And he's from the Bay. Yeah.
Wow.
And he was on this network with this guy, Jamie, I forget his last name off the top of my head, and from the Bay. And he told him about me. And so I met with Jamie, and he was like, oh, what would you do? And I was like, oh, it'd be called the Screenwriters Rant Room. We'd be going in, this and this. And I just told him it would be a show about how. And he'd be like, what do you mean? I said, well, one of the things I hate is when you are listening to a podcast or an interview, and, I've done probably a couple hundred.
WGA, you're always on
Writers Guild podcast, whatever. But even as a moderator or anything, and I'm talking to people, I find when I'm sitting in the audience listening, it drives me bananas when people are like, oh, I moved to LA and I got an agent.
Right.
I'm like, motherfucker, how?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so I always, and this is something for you guys, when you hear people skip, you got to be thinking like the audience. The audience always wants to know, how did they do it?
Right.
So I'll interject, which is why I made my shows so long, because they were shorter at first. And I was like, oh, I'm not giving them enough time to tell their story, though.
Yeah.
Now, I want to hear more of the story. Sometimes you guys are just like, okay, I want to just talk about this part.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But I wanted to hear people's journeys.
That's right.
So I was like, okay, it would be a show about how. So I was on this network, and we did like 10 to 12 episodes. And it was just Lisa and I. And he would chime in. And it just wasn't... Like I said, you got to find that mix.
The synergy.
And I don't really use the N-word.
Yeah.
Brother was throwing out every 3 seconds, man, y'all need to be... And I was like,
that's not really your vibe.
I know it's going to be a niche show, but I don't want it that niche. You know what I mean? So I was like, I was talking to Pamela, my producing partner, and she's like, well, what would you need to do? And I was like, I need to get my mics and blah, blah, blah. And I saw how he set up his thing, and he was like, and she's like, how much you need? And I was like, it's probably going to cost me about $1,000 to get it just the way I want it, to get my stands and, all the mics. And she was like, well, here's $400, you get the rest. And I was like, cool. So, boom, I put it together. Lisa, we took her to lunch, and next thing you know, we started.
Screenwriters Rant Room.
Started going.
Man.
You know what I mean? 53 episodes we've dropped.
Oh my God.
It's probably more like 463 because I don't count some of the bonus episodes.
Because you didn't upload everything to Spotify, right?
Everything's on there.
I remember at first you weren't on Spotify at first.
Yeah, Chris did it. Probably just like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Shout out to Chris, man, for that. Like, I used to listen to your podcast on a website, actually.
Oh, okay.
I forgot what site it was. It might have been Stitcher.
Yeah.
One of those, like
Anchor, one of those. Yeah.
And then when it got on Spotify, I was like, oh shit. So like, yeah, that's dope.
Let's talk about education for just 1 second.
Love talking about education.
Hilliard was talking about like feeling insecure, about like not having a degree or like a specialized degree or what have you. But I am 100% of the mindset that the only reason to go study filmmaking is for the connections that you can make there, which means that the only reason to go is to go for that alumni network, and which means there's really only a few schools that are even worth going to if you're going to study film. Right. I genuinely believe everything you learn, it's like you learn it like on the fly. You know, if you're a director, it's like you can shadow other directors, you learn it there. If you're a writer, obviously, you know, you just write.
Read scripts.
Yeah, you don't need anything. And then in terms of like technical skills, it's changing so fast that, let's say even 4 years ago you graduated from university in editing or whatever, the technology has changed so much that it doesn't even matter. So whatever technical skills you need, you can learn those outside of university. So
here's what I'll add to that. And I first of all, I totally agree with you 100%. I'll add to that, as you always say, and. Yes, and. Coming from a theater background. Yeah. I would also add, because writers and actors always ask me, how do I do this, and should I go to school in this and this? And I'm always like, first of all, are you a school person? Right? And this goes into like when I talk about, you know, because I came up through the festivals. You know, I came up through, like I said, Sundances and the Austins and all those things like that, which today people are like, are they still good? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I found was you have to find your why. Same thing with your school. You need to decide for yourself, why am I doing this? So for me, the reason I would submit something to Sundance or Austin or anything, I would be like, okay, finish the script. I had Saeed and my girl read it. They gave me some great notes. I fixed it. Where is it now? Right? And within my circle. Let me see how it does at Sundance. Let me see how it does at Austin. Whatever. Okay, it's only the semis. All right, okay, I still got some. That's what it was for. It wasn't, I get to go to Sundance. I'm a second rounder. I'm supposed to kill it, you know. No, bitch. That ain't the right reason. My why was to get outside of my network, you know, to see where I am. And here's the most important thing. Here's what it helps you do that a lot of people don't think about. It helps your ego.
That's word, for real.
You claim that shit, right? A lot of people don't think about the fact you need that because none of us think we're pros until we get paid.
Validation.
Facts, right? So having all these competitions where you're a semi or a finalist or whatever the fuck the level is you hoped you got to, any of that, especially when you start to realize and learn exactly how many other motherfuckers submitted, and here you are in the top 20 out of 6,000 motherfuckers, you're like, oh, I must be riding on a level to be at that point, right? Now you could sit there and go, oh, well, you know, most scripts are bad. You could say all that, right? But those of us who understand, and I have read for festivals and stuff, I get how it works, and they're not all that fucking bad, first of all. Let's just be clear.
Truth.
Right? It's about what you're looking for your mandate. That's usually the key. You don't submit a crazy-ass, over-the-top rom-com to Sundance.
Right. You know that's not their lane, their style.
That don't mean the script is bad, right?
That's right.
You submitted it to the wrong one. Right? So now you got to figure out which one would that go to. Yeah. They're playing in that Sundance realm too, right? So you can't just go anywhere. No. That's what I figured out. It's like, oh, okay, I just wrote this new, you know, dark whatever. Oh, that's perfect for them. Oh, I wrote this kind of action-y. Yeah, that's better for, you see what I mean? You got to be, just like your managers and your agents, you got to be scoping them out to see what their specialties are. You know, go ahead.
Do you, I feel like having that thought process, right? And did that come from acting for you? Or like, because I'm trying to figure out where did that mind state come from of like, because some people, they don't look at it that way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like most screenwriters do the same thing over and over, which is the definition of insanity if you're not, you know, getting results. So what was it for you? Was it acting? Like, how did you think like that?
I can't say that I ever figured it out. I think it's just maturity for me.
Yeah.
At least that's the way that I look at it. Is that I'm someone who I don't believe anything you do in the past is a bad thing.
Oh, wow.
But it took me a couple of years to figure that. It took me till I was 40 to figure that out.
Yeah.
Brother 52, he's just pretty. And so
He's gorgeous, not just
look at that.
pretty.
You look,
Oh
you look 35 though.
They ain't nothing but Similac. That's all. And so, now I forgot my damn question.
No, you were saying that how it came from.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, I think a lot of it has to do with maturity.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like when you're in a relationship or several, you start to go, okay, this next one, I'm gonna check this motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask them this.
Yeah.
What's your situation with this? If we go home and your parents cool,
Yeah.
like you start to become that. So it's the same thing for me.
Yeah.
As I started getting more older and started writing more and more scripts and getting more confident in myself, I'd be like, okay, that means I need to do this.
Yeah. Trial and error.
Everything.
I also feel like it's where you from though. You from the Bay.
It's probably some of that, yeah.
And one thing about that is like, you know, we don't have Hollywood there. Like, so the fact that you made it out of there itself and then going, you know, making that move is in itself like an accomplishment or like pivoting in a way.
I will say a little bit different to that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Because I was an actor.
Yeah.
I was in the city doing shows at Oakland Ensemble Theater and, you know, Berkeley Rep and, you know, all that shit, ACT, all of them, you know, the Black Ensemble Theater, all of them. And so, and then I was doing hella commercials, music videos with Hammer, like we were all over the place. And so I did feel like I was a little attached to
Hollywood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here was a problem though. Watch this. So people always ask me like, why did you move to LA?
Yeah.
And I was like, what was happening was I was getting roles on TV as an actor. And what I was finding was because here we are in San Francisco, they were casting all the guest stars out of LA. And I'm going, I could have played that role.
Yeah.
They spent all that money bringing that person down, putting them down, flying them down, per diem, and they hired me as a loco to play the best friend.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And I was going, man, and it just kept happening. Yeah. You know what I mean? Probably did 5 or 6 different shows like in a row, and I was, you know, getting these nice little roles and feeling what it's like going, oh, dude, I could go to LA and kill it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get to LA, it's 30, excuse my phrase, this is when I break it, 30 niggas look just like
no, for
sorry.
sure.
That's what I say when I'm being funny.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
They're killing them.
Yeah.
You know, because of my theater background, since I was 12 years old and I was a triple threat, none of them kids hardly touch me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So moved to LA and you auditioning against, I'm just throwing out Lorenz Tate. You ain't going to get it.
Oh, facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
You ain't going to get it. So to me, that was the difference.
You applied that, like, figuring out your space and how to maneuver and noticing that, oh shit, like some people just do shit blindly. Right. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, no, oh shit, oh, you're inquisitive, asking questions like, oh, you're from LA? Oh, you got over here? Oh, you keep seeing that and you're like, oh shit, I got it to LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you.
I had always thought that I would go.
Yeah.
I just, you know, timing, all those things, you know what I mean?
There's a Bay, this is funny, Mel, you're not from the Bay, but like there's a Bay saying, especially in music, where it's like, you go to LA and they be like, see how long you stay, because your ass gonna be back. Like that's a big thing. It's like, oh, you going to LA?
Everybody thought I was coming back,
bro. Everybody
thought I was
oh,
coming
you
back.
going to LA? Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll see you. I'll see you back in 3 years. You know
Exactly. It's a little 2-year thing.
Yeah.
But the thing, here's the funny thing.
Yeah.
It's actually true.
It is.
Right?
It is.
But it's not just the Bay. It's everywhere.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Everybody I know, the dudes that I started with 30 years ago almost, but I've been on 29 years ago. I don't forget. I've been here since 96. How many years is that? Brother can't count. See, I told you I didn't go to school. It's like, 5 divided by 6, some shit like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, but those dudes, it's only a few of us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mel, speaking of you, with comedy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Out of the crew that you had a crew, right? That you kind of like was with at the
She
time.
still got a crew. She a gang. Look
I know,
at
we was talking. We got to get a crew. Let us know. We need a two writers talking shit crew.
We do. We really do.
But the people you came up with, like, did some of them fall off too? Like,
Oh, I mean, I think that's with everything, right? Whether
Period.
it's like acting or it's writing or it's
Yeah.
comedy or music or what have you. More than half of it is just persistence and resilience. I feel there are
agree.
so many people talent free, but they are so resilient. They
Yes,
are so
agreed.
persistent. They
Agreed.
can make it up into the top 10%, the top 5% of people who are working because it's discouraging.
tough. Yeah. No.
You know,
It's so true. I have found the majority of people who I know who have made it to the level where you think you want to be aren't usually the most talented people.
Yeah.
People that, in my opinion, I know I could probably write circles around.
yeah.
But it's not about that.
No.
It's about this is something I always compliment you on. You have
Yeah.
the whole package.
I appreciate
to me,
it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's only a few people you see, you're like, yeah, she's good. She's going to be working. She's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Do you think she's going to last?
Yeah.
I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saeed has this thing. This is just something I've witnessed in the last 4 or 5
appreciate
years
it,
that I've known you. Is you always have this thing where everybody I know is like, that's my dude.
I appreciate
You know
it.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to me, to have that from everybody across the board,
Yeah.
people that you and I know and respect, whether it's Malcolm or Ben or whoever, you don't just get those kudos from dudes like that.
Yeah.
It ain't just because you're from the Bay.
No, I agree.
It's more than that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm a little biased in being from the Bay.
I mean, we all are. I mean, anytime a Bay Area person sees themselves somewhere, we like, oh my God. It'd be
Right.
like, you could be in Russia or something. It'd just be like, hey. So yeah, the Bay, we definitely stick together.
Here's the irony, though. I wasn't born there, though.
That's
I
interesting.
was born in Detroit.
And then you moved?
And then we moved to Brooklyn until I was, I think, 2 weeks before when we moved to
Oh, so you on some Tupac shit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally. I was born in Detroit. We moved to Brooklyn when I was
Yeah.
2. We lived there, military brat,
Yeah.
youngest of 5. And we moved to the Bay like 2 weeks before I turned 7.
Oh, that's enough. We claim you then.
Oh, yeah, I don't claim I don't claim it at all. I just always have to
Yeah,
clarify.
no.
You know what I'm
that you're
saying?
not- yeah.
Yeah, because I've had people approach me wanting me to write stuff going, oh, you're from Detroit? I'm like, I don't know what streets.
Right. Yeah, I was born in Detroit.
Look,
Let's
I
be
heard
clear.
of the east side of that, but hey, I mean, I can look it up.
Oh, man. Quick question. Pivoting is something we talk about all the time, which is important now because, the strike, WGA strike. One thing I admire you for, and I look up to people like, even myself, I pivoted from music to screenwriting. I was talking to a friend of mine last night who was in music, and he was like, bro, I salute you. You did that shit. Like, you pivoted. You pivoted a few times.
Right.
Explain the pivot, you know what I'm saying? Because I think a lot of writers right now are scared, fearful. You warned us about this time. You and Malcolm warned us about this time of TV blew up and all the writers are getting jobs in their shows and all this shit, especially people of color. We're getting hit the most. Explain the pivot. Like, how do you look at the pivot?
The pivot is something that's been going on through history. It has a name for it. The pivot is something that most people just aren't aware of. They're just making a change. I use this analogy all the time. I'm somebody who's have heard hundreds of pitches and has probably done dozens of them myself. I really feel like I got a grip on what it is. The reason is because of the pivot. I know that sounds weird. Here's what I mean. You ever watch Shark Tank? There's another show you guys should listen to called The Pitch. It's a podcast. And it's Shark Tank in your ears, right?
He's pitching it to us right now.
Yeah.
Watch
love
this.
it.
So then, no, I was kidding.
Love it.
So, but what I'm listening to is not always the stories that they're doing. I'm listening to, here's the product we came up with. It wasn't that when we started.
See,
You know that little dial thing that we came up with? It used to be this machine. That we were like, it's too big. All we need is this thing, right? That's the pivot that I'm talking about. Most people don't understand that machine you built that you think is perfect is not the thing. It was just that little dial that now you can license, right? It's the same theory for me. So what's going to happen is this. It's just my prediction, by the way.
We love it.
Every fucking writer in the world is about to pivot. All of us.
Yeah.
The dreams that everybody's had. Sorry for the bad news to any of y'all. This is just how you have to be preparing yourself now.
Yeah.
Come on, let me start preaching to y'all now.
Tabernacle. Let's go.
Listen.
Let's go.
Look.
We heard you're a triple threat. We want to hear you sing. We want to hear you sing for Jesus.
God said now.
Gonna have to pivot. Pivot right now.
Oh my God. You're the first person who's ever gotten Saeed to sing.
Only Hilliard.
Many have tried.
You know why?
And you're the first one who succeeded.
Because you ain't got bars like that.
He loves it. I love it. No, bring the gospel.
All right, so Trip, we all are in a position now where the industry is about to change. If we don't win the AI war, we are fucked. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
You know I keep it real.
100%.
Fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have played with ChatGPT and all that stuff. Yeah. And all of us are against this, but I'm telling every writer to go check it out.
Yeah.
You need to learn what it is we're up against. And I've had a few of my friends who are very good at that stuff just run me through some stuff, and I was like, wow, we're jacked. And what I mean is this. It's going to be a shortcut to make us super lazy.
Yeah.
Right? The problem, I don't have a problem with writers going, so I'm trying to figure out this log line. Let me put it in and see.
Yeah.
Do it in the way of John August, right? What if Craig Mazin wrote it? You know what I mean? What if such and such wrote it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how would I say it? Inspiration, right? That I don't mind.
Right.
It's I'm going to copy and paste this as if I did it.
Yeah.
And we're all going to become these people who don't quite know how to write anymore. What I have said, and you heard me say it the other day, I think Chris corrected me and he had another word for it. I was saying we're probably going to become more editors.
Yeah.
Where studios, productions will say, Saeed, come on in, write this project for us. It's already written. We just need you to add that black flavor to it.
Yeah.
They don't say the black, but that's what they mean.
The urban.
The urban flavor.
They'll say urban
Exactly,
flavor.
right? Make it a little urban, right?
Yeah.
And so you're just going to be an editor, though.
Yeah.
They're not going to say written by Saeed Crumpler. It's going to say
edited. Yeah.
Right? You might not even get that little credit that we just fought for.
Yeah.
It's going to be a waste.
Yeah.
Right? That's just my opinion. So, talking about the pivot, everybody should be thinking, I'm already starting to think, luckily I come from the indie world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm already going, okay, how can I be preparing for the next movie that I can produce indie? Right?
Yeah.
So I can go back to that. I was doing for 6 figures a year doing that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I could still do that.
Yeah.
I was trying to get into the network groove and be like, I need some millions in here now. I'm 52 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
rightfully
saying?
so.
So I was like, okay, I could still do that. How can I do that and still manipulate? Right? So that's where I'm at now. I'm like at this little crossroad, and we all are. Right? We have to accept. I'm sorry.
Huh?
Oh, I thought you were going to say
She's just tabernacling.
Yeah.
Oh, was she?
Yes, Lord.
And so
I'm the congregation cheering you on. Now preach.
hey, man, you're supposed to be fanning though.
Yeah.
I know.
We're going to bring her to Oakland Baptist Church.
I'm going to be in the front row.
Yeah. She got to have a big yellow dress on with a hat.
She's going to get the Holy Ghost.
Just
I'm going to start speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Spirit's going to speak through me.
So the pivot is something we all have to prepare for. It is a real thing. And I hope that analogy I gave you about how the machine to the dial is what we need to be thinking about. How do we pivot ourselves? If I'm just, and what I mean is usually this, you've heard me say this, I'm somebody I hardly respect you if you're just a writer. You got to be a hyphenate of something.
Absolutely.
Today. Because if you don't, now you're at their mercy. That's why. It's not just like, well, can I just become a master at writing? Yeah, and bitch, what else?
You better be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta also, and that didn't mean you have to direct, but you've got to learn how to produce. It's going to save you in the end.
Now that's the problem. The problem about that is they don't let you on fucking set. That's the problem. So what happens is that I end up writing an episode for a lovely show called Flatbush Misdemeanors.
Yeah, shout out to it.
Yeah, and I don't get on set for my episode. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And matter of fact, if I want to get on set...
Well, you were during the Rona, too.
It was... I feel like they used that to like... They did the smeeze on me. But I can't get on set. And this is something that a lot of new writers are talking about. This didn't used to happen.
No.
It
was expected.
Right. So you have all these writers that's coming up, don't know how to produce. So how do we get that producing? We're going to do indie stuff, like you said. Is that what you said?
I've said this a million times. It is your duty as a writer. We are all writers to become produced writers, right? Mm-hmm. You are also a writer to learn to produce.
Okay.
Right? We're in LA. Yes, we're in the strike. But we're not, as you've heard Billy Ray and all of them say, John August, we're not against the indie writer, the indie filmmaker going out and making their film right now.
Yeah.
So what's holding you back from being on the set? Right? All of us have friends in LA who are making a short film, who are making a proof of concept, whatever. I'd be like, yo, dude, can I just come?
The shadow.
Boom.
Yeah.
Right? The problem is this. Don't just stand around talking about I'm sitting by Crafty. Don't just stand around standing by Video Village. If you see we're striking, we're moving, bitch, grab our C-stand. You know what I mean? Be that person. That's the dude, the female, the dude, the man I want on my set. I want somebody who comes in and go, what do you need? Not just, oh, I'm in here, look at me. Yeah. No, I don't want that person on the set.
Yeah. For Instagram.
You need to be learning how does this work?
Yeah.
You know, I think I was doing a podcast with somebody recently, and I was talking about the show that I was doing with Pamela. We were doing this 3-camera show, and we were all in the writer's room, and we came downstairs for like one of our first rehearsals. And I was standing next to the co-EP, and every time they said action, he had his script out, his pen, and he would go, like, say the monitor's here, we all are standing right here. And he'd go like this, action. He closed his eyes. Listen. And cut. He would go. Just drooling. I mean, dribbling. What do they call it? Doodling.
Doodling.
It looked like doodle. It was,
he was drooling all over the place.
And I was like, what the fuck excited. Is he doing? Every single time. So I pulled him aside and we were done. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm listening for the pace. I'm listening. It's good for you. He's like, oh, yeah, both of you guys are comedy. And he's like, I'm listening to the pace. I'm listening to the rhythm. I'm listening to, where's the joke? And then he would come in, we'd go upstairs, and he'd be like, okay, I got it. You notice how when such and such said that? What if he just was like, listen, he's like, the rhythm's off right there. We got to speed up that, right?
Yeah.
All that. So if you ever see me on the set when I'm producing, bitch, I'm like this.
Oh, that's tight.
Okay. And I'll call the director. I'll go, let me show you something. Let's look at this back.
Yeah.
Tell me what you see.
Yeah.
I'm letting them, I'm keeping them involved. I'm not just going, you know what's wrong. I'm like, come watch this.
Yeah.
Come see what I see what I heard. Did I hear that wrong?
Yeah.
Was there something missing? Was the rhythm off? Did we miss the joke? Did they not land that button? Like what was it? Did the camera tilt at some point? Like what I'm listening and watching for all that.
Yeah.
So I'll do different takes where I'm closing my eyes and some I'm watching. I've seen what I need to see.
Right.
I've corrected them, and now I'm watching to see if they fixed the thing, right? So you choose where and you also have to know you've already came in once you understand producing, you've already decided with your director about how many takes you're going to try to get because you're moving fast.
That's the indie thing. How many takes you probably got in an indie film? 4 tops?
4.
Exactly.
Depending on this show, depending on what it is, you know what I mean? Sometimes you're...
Maybe 2 and out of there.
Sometimes you're at 6, 7, 8, it just depends. If it's an important moment, I will give it to him.
Yeah.
I would say, do you need another one? I need another one. I'll be like, I'll look around the 80 and I'll be like, one more.
Yeah.
But that means the next scene we got to do it in 3. You know what I mean? You just got to communicate in a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, I think another really important aspect of the pivot, I really like what Hilliard's saying about becoming a producer, being on set, getting yourself that experience, finding ways to get yourself on someone else's set and like add value. Another really important thing about the pivot, which I've been talking to with screenwriters who've been doing this for a very long time, is like this whole yes and idea, right? So it's like, what is something I can do alongside my screenwriting career to sustain myself, right? Or what is a career I can do in conjunction with to essentially be able to live a life I want, or support my family, or like own a home, or just live a normal life, right? Like not like living on the fringes of society. So for instance, like a lot of writers are going to school to become therapists, right? Because
that's a good trade.
That one of the things we do as writers is like we are holding a mirror up to humanity, right? So It's like we are to become a better and better and better writer is to become a better and better listener and inspector of like
study human behavior.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's not a huge jump, right? To think that like you can cross over into being a therapist, and then it's like, you know, obviously it's a long game, right? Because you've got to go to school, then you got to build up a practice, but it's like ultimately you can set your own schedule, right? You can still continue to write, and you can have a family, or you can travel, you can do that remotely. Like there's so many things that you can do that absolutely makes sense. Like I have another friend, he has an accounting background. So now he's thinking, oh, okay, like I have all of this, I've got like studio experience screenwriting, I have this accounting background. Why don't I get into film financing, right? Like, why am I not doing like film financing alongside my writing? So it's like, I think that it's not about giving up on your dreams.
Facts.
And it's exactly what Hilliard's talking about of like, it's not just this one single lane. It's like opening yourself up to these other possibilities to have maybe not the life exactly as you pictured,
Correct.
but something equally as good or even better.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Is to me that really is the pivot. Is all of us came here to do with another skill. That doesn't mean you go back to rapping, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could. But
if it goes to January,
I got a new tape.
I'll be dropping out.
Get that new purple tape. That new purple tape.
Month, you will be tired of
that. But there is something. I like where you're going. There is something to. Let me pivot on this. I always say this. Everybody I know, and I've said this many times, including myself, when I got in, was on the script, everybody was like, why'd you write that? Right? It's the same thing. That job you used to have that you were like, oh, I can't wait to get away from this, is going to come back to you years later when they're like, oh, there's a new show about astronauts. You're like, oh, I got away from that shit. Right?
I got away from NASA, finally, my God.
It's a grounded show with vampires. You're like, vampires? Yeah. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that's how you got it, because you had that special skill of whatever the thing was. And so that's why I'm always telling everybody, whatever you come from is actually not a negative.
I agree.
It's not. And the more and you guys all know this being in rooms, the more you are able to have meetings and not be afraid to tell about the fact you grew up in the hood of this, or you came from a place where your parents were alcoholics, the more you could talk about that, the more I remember, remember the girl who came in, who talked about. She's a storyteller. I have a feeling she would be, you see what I mean? I know this from just staffing 2 shows. That's how we think, right? You're literally all the time going, really liked how he, whatever the thing was. But if they're just like, so tell me this, and they're just like, oh yeah, we were young, it was cute. I'm like,
yeah, not really storytelling.
He's not very open. I'm looking for somebody to be like, man, let me tell you about what it was like when I was 12. Dude. The neighborhood was like this. My parents are blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? All I'm hearing is all these stories. We got a young kid in the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You need stories.
So I need to know that you're thinking that way, but people just don't. They feel like, well, why do I need to tell them about that?
Yeah.
Because it's telling us you have more stories.
100%. Than the one we just read.
Yeah.
You brought up, you slyly said you staffed 2 shows.
Yeah.
I love how you just
slipped it in.
Yeah, I love how you just like
So tricky.
slid. That's when they passed the offering by. Sometimes you ain't got no money in the church.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like
you
how
just keep
pass
it
me a
moving. You
quarter,
just keep it
pass me a
moving
quarter.
down.
keep
down
keeping
the
the church thing.
Yeah.
Get them on the way back. When
Exactly.
I
You pass the Dutchie. Pass the Dutchie on the left hand side.
I think I came into the office and I remember you were like, man, I got stacks of scripts. How many stacks did y'all have of scripts? Just because I want to let upcoming writers know what you're dealing with when you're trying to get staffed.
So I spent the last year until May working as number 2 with Ben Watkins at Blue Monday. And we staffed 2 shows from December through February. The room started in February. One show had over 300 and something scripts. The other had almost half of that, 200 and something.
Oh,
and at the same time.
That's
So
why.
that was fascinating. So here's the interesting thing.
Yeah, because I want to know.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
Now, this is just my experience.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about other shows.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying what other people who are on our team did. I'm just telling you what I did.
Yeah.
Okay? Just want to be clear. Because I don't want to be speaking for BMP and all that. When you first start reading, you're like, I'm going to give him 30, 40 pages.
Whew. You was generous.
yeah. Very
Well, you know me.
Yeah. A lot of love.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah,
love.
yeah. Because I know what it's like.
I know. That's our problem.
You're
I
getting
know,
executives who don't write.
I know. And they ain't reading
So they're
shit.
just
They
like,
don't read
I'll
the
give
first
them 5 pages.
Yeah,
They don't
I
give a
know.
fuck.
Yeah. No.
I'm going to keep it real with you.
Yeah.
And so, but you get 30, 40 in, and you realize you read 3 scripts in the entire day. Because, it takes time
Yeah.
to read. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. You
Yeah.
just start.
Going through.
Luckily, I told Ben, I need you to be clear. Give us, so when we send out to reps and, all that,
To
what
narrow
do
it
you
down.
need?
What are you looking
Give
for?
us specifically for both shows, because they're 2 completely different shows.
Yeah.
High-profile shows
Yeah.
that take place in the past. So I want to make sure somebody's a great historian. I want somebody who knows Black history. I want somebody who knows the Western or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And so he put together this amazing thing that I was able to send out to agents and say, here's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Don't send me anything other than this. You still get
Slips in.
7, 8, 10% of people going, just in case you want to see this half-hour blank, bitch, you saw what the
this
thing
an hour-long
said.
show. Yeah.
But I understand. I don't take it personally.
Yeah.
The reason they're doing it is they're like, well, we know this isn't the right show for such and such, but what if
Yeah.
they just might want to look at you after?
Yeah.
Guess what? I actually did that.
That's tight. Okay.
There were a few that came through, and I was like, this isn't,
This isn't for this show.
no.
Yeah.
And I had a whole separate, doc
Yeah.
where I was like, I want to meet all these people.
That's tight.
Out of all those hundreds, we probably had 30 people on that list.
That's tight.
You know what I mean? So, what was your question? I do that sometimes.
No, the question was just about when you have all those scripts, were you noticing some things they were doing right and some things that were wrong?
Well, here's the thing that I always say. Here's some game for you guys.
Please.
If you can, by the way, you don't always get, and you guys know this being staffed, you don't always get the opportunity for your reps to say, yo, Saeed, I'm going to be sending you on this show. Take a look at the script. Tell me, do you want to go on it? They don't do it like that.
No.
What they do is go, hey, you have a meeting tomorrow.
Yeah. Do your
for
research.
such and such a show.
Yeah.
Season 2 is out. Go look at it. Whatever the fuck, right?
And you're cramming episodes all night of Charmed.
What I'm always trying to do, the relationship, this is hard to do, by the way. It could slow the process down a little bit, but if sometimes it works. I try to convince my reps, if they know there's a show that I would kill, give me the script ahead of time so that I could read it. Because the sample you have may actually not be the right one that I want you to submit. We all know, and this is something I know, I always say you got to think like a fish. What would I want?
How does a fish think?
They think like you.
Finding Nemo.
It's just an old thing. The saying is, you do what you would want done.
Yeah.
Right? So you think like a fish.
Okay.
I don't know where there's some southern black shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that if they send me a script and I read it, I'm like, oh, they're talking to the themes of fatherhood in this show. It's not, oh, it's a Western.
Right. It's not just that it's a mystery.
That's the problem.
I get.
So I'm getting all these Westerns, and nobody's talking to what I'm talking about.
Father and son dynamic.
Boom.
And the script that actually stand out is something that's a father and son, or a mother and daughter, or you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. So I was having those arguments with some of the other producers, going, "Well, it's not a Western." I'm like, "No.
Yeah.
Did you notice that this is what we're talking about in the show?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's bring them in. You see what I mean? Yeah. I was that guy.
That's tight.
You see what I mean? So what I'm saying is, if I were staffing a show, I would want somebody who's talking to my voice.
100%.
And to my themes of the show.
Yeah.
Right? Not necessarily can they do a Western. That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not necessarily can they do a show about the 60s. That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, can they do the father-daughter story?
Yeah. Can
they do the story of forgiveness? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to find that theme. Mm-hmm. You know, they could have wrote a comedy, but it had the theme, and I'm like, right? So that's what I mean.
That's fire. We're gonna get into some speed questions though. You worked on a lot of short films, right?
I've worked on maybe a dozen.
Exactly.
That's a lot.
All right. How would you approach doing any advice for people doing short films right now? Because I got like about 5-6 friends who's doing shorts right now. Me
and Saeed are making a short.
I mean, you guys are. You saw I did that episode.
I'm on the picket line.
If you listen to the episode I just did about a month ago with Kay Singleton, showrunner on a show called The Covenant. I spend about a half hour giving her game about producing in the indie world.
Okay.
And I'll try to give you guys a couple things.
Yes.
First of all, I always say this. Before you decide to write the script to something you know you can get, meaning the location.
Right.
That's the problem. Most people write it too big that they can't
get the shit.
Make it. Yeah. So that's why you have so many friends who have these scripts are like, well, you know, one day I'm going to produce this short. I'm like, what's it about? Oh, a little sci-fi. And I'm like, that's the problem. Yeah. You know what I mean? Make something.
Little Life on Mars.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. But if you could find something more contained, that doesn't mean it have to be in one house. Yeah. You can have a couple exterior things, so don't get it twisted. But if you're smart, it will take place in a room or two or in a house or whatever. You have to figure out, and I always say this, every single one of us has a friend, a cousin, a family, a brother, or whatever in the neighborhood you're in that has something you love. It could be their car. It could be the way they dress. It could be their house. It could be their business. Every one of us go to a regular coffee shop that's like down the street that you know the manager of. I bet ain't nobody in there at midnight. And you know the owner? Yeah. What are you talking about? You don't know nobody. Yeah. I'm the type of dude, I'll put together a whole lookbook and I'll be like, yo, man, we would love to shoot something here, but here's what we're going to do. See the sign that says, you know, Saeed's Donuts? Yeah, 100%. We're going to do a pan from that down to the bottom. I'm selling it. Yeah. And they're like, wow, that'd be amazing. Yeah. And then I do so many other things that invite them. So one of the things I was talking about with Kay, she was saying that on her series, there was an issue where they had this location and the owner showed up complaining, saying he didn't know it was going to be such a big set. He wants more money. So he started trying to get her for more money. Yeah. And I said, that tells me immediately that your line producer was bad. And she was like, wow. And I was like, as a line producer, and I've done the line producer, I've done production soup, I've done all those different positions because I wanted to know how to talk to somebody I hired, right? So one of the things that I always do, for example, here's an example. Say we're going to shoot here at this house, right? I would have came here, walked around the entire place, thought about, most of it takes place in the kitchen and the living room, right? Okay, that's just the set. Where's the rest of production? Your job as a producer is to think logistically. So you have to say, okay, we have a driveway. We need to make sure the owners aren't here so we can line up. Can we fit the truck in here? Can we use? How many bathrooms do we have? Right?
One.
How many bedrooms do we have? That one of them should be for the actors.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to be thinking about the refrigerator makes noise.
Yeah.
I'm listening to all kind of different things, right? This is a quiet street on a Saturday.
Right.
What's it like on it? You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How are we going to get this cleared to have 30 people parked outside?
Right.
Right? And so I'm the type of person, when I come in to the owner, the manager, whatever, I'm talking to them. And I'm saying and I always tell them it's going to be more people than it is. Because sometimes you're like, oh, I invited my
friend.
Right? That happens.
Yeah.
Yo, we needed more PA. So we just brought in 6 more people, right? And so if I say it's going to be 30, it's because it's probably going to be 20.
Yeah.
But if I say it's going to be 30,
It's probably going to be 40.
it's going to be 40, right? So there's no surprise. And I'll tell them there'll probably be about 30 or 40 of us in here. We're going to be doing this. We're going to take photos of all the furniture. We'll put it all back. Right?
Spot, yeah.
Little stuff.
That's fire.
Think like a fish, right?
Yeah, that's game.
Never, ever, ever trust that your friend is like, oh no, we're okay to shoot at my friend's house and you haven't been there yet.
Man.
That's the problem. This is the indie world.
Yeah.
Okay? So I want to get that clear. Because what'll happen is they'll be like, oh, we're shooting at this restaurant. This is what happened to me. Luckily, early on, I was shooting this pilot, and an indie pilot, and the DP had a friend who owned this restaurant somewhere and whatever, and I was like, great, I need to go see the place. Oh, no, it was cool. And I was like, what? What are you? No, don't worry about it. He's good. And I was like, I need to go talk to him.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to mess that up. He was doing all that, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. So I went and drove down there. Motherfucker was closed. I was like, fuck. So I'm starting to go, okay, we're outside. Okay, we could load in. We could. I'm trying to think logistically. We get inside the next day to shoot. Watch this. We get in there to shoot. We're starting to load in. The manager shows up, the owner manager, and he goes, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, let me holler at you. So I take him outside. I don't want to. Don't do it in front of the crew.
Yeah.
So I'll take him outside, and I'm like, hey man, so my name is Bob. I'm trying to be cool.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you guys are okay to shoot, but boy, there's a lot of people here, and we're open.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Holy shit. Yeah.
So watch this. Every time the door opens, ding.
Oh, shit.
That's another thing we had to deal with.
Yeah.
And where he wanted us to shoot
Was right in the front, probably.
was in the front,
Of course.
right? And remember, we had shit planned where the cooks are back there?
Yeah.
We can't do that. They're cooking. So I had to find my way to convince him to understand how we needed a shot or this and this. And what do I usually do? I know I'm probably taking too long. Forgive
go
me.
ahead.
I usually do a couple things, including the manager or owner, whoever. So my first 2 or 3 stars, my DP and my director. This is when I'm producing. I will call them all a week ahead of time and be like, is there anything you need on the set that's going to make you cool when we're in a crunch? And I say, here's what I'll tell them. When I'm directing, I need a hot chocolate from Coffee Bean and some red, and a little pack of red vines. It's just mine.
Yeah.
Something simple.
When time get tough.
Now, I don't go get it.
Yeah.
I have my PA, my assistant, or whatever, go get that stuff.
Yeah.
But when you come on the set, because we're the producers, you guys know, we're the first ones there.
Yeah.
Your shit is over by Crafty with Saeed's name on it. Don't touch it, bitch.
Yeah.
Right?
That's his Pete's.
That's my Pete's.
That's his Pete's.
And
And I tell whoever's at the front, let me know when Saeed gets here.
Yeah.
And Saeed shows up. Hey, Saeed's here. Great. I go over to Crafty. I get your whatever, your hot chocolate and your thing.
Yeah.
Welcome to the set. I walk you into your room in there.
Professional.
Right? That's your job.
Professional.
What would you want as the actor? And this would be an actor, right?
Like a fish.
Right? And so you immediately go, oh, he took care of me.
Yeah.
He got me that thing.
Yeah.
I still go out and get you a freaking director's chair, even though you're hardly going to be in it.
Yeah.
It's the little things
that
just make you feel like this is a big set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the little
tight.
thing. So those are just a couple little tiny little small things that I do. Oh, this is where I was going, the last little part of that story.
Yeah.
So I usually will walk the manager to Crafty, get him a donut and coffee, bring him into the set, walk him into the dressing room to meet whoever the star is.
That's tight.
To include him or her in the process.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Come on over to the Video Village. Here, put the headset on.
Smart.
Listen, watch this. You know, oh, lunchtime. Dude, come on and grab a meal. Right? And the reason is, and this is no exaggeration, 7 times out of 10, Hilliard, I had such a good time. You know, we're charging you guys $3,000 for this.
Yeah.
I'll do it for half.
Love it.
Swear to God. I will put the bitch in one of the scenes or something. You know what I mean?
No.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That's the little things you have to be thinking about. How can I get production value?
I love it.
Right? And like I said, you get production value by asking your friends, let me borrow.
Yeah.
But I will take care of it. Right? Little things. So I can go on and on about
No. Look. Bombs, bars, tabernacle preaching from Hilliard Guess.
That's right.
Real quick. What are like 2 or 3 things you're watching, reading, or listening to that you really like? So what are you watching that you really like?
Of course, I like Succession.
Love it.
I can't write like that. It's crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
What are you reading that you like?
I'm listening to the new Steve Jobs, but I listen to a lot of stuff, more stuff than I read. Unless
That's
it's a
fine.
script.
No, that's fine. Shit, you was listening to 2 writers talking shit, and you was listening to the Screenwriters Rant Room. So we ain't got it. I handle that for you. No, is there any music you listening to right now?
Oh, God.
Please.
I mean, those of you who know, I grew up in the whole mod, punk rock, rude boy world. So
Please.
ska is my first love, of course. So I'm always playing the specials or something.
Love it.
Jamming. But when I'm in the gym, I'm playing, it's usually old school hip hop. I hate new rap.
No, that's
I
all
can't
good.
stand it.
Like,
mumble shit, I can't do it. I can't do it. So I need to hear some bars.
I feel you.
know
I'm
what I
with
mean?
you. No,
Yeah.
we gonna bring that back. Hilliard, thank you for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
You already know, man. You're one of my mentors. One of the reasons why I even decided to do a podcast with the lovely Mel. Very
Melly Mel.
Melly Mel. Oh shit, that's the new name. Melly Mel. Mel.
Yes.
Another good episode.
Another amazing episode. Hilliard, thanks for taking us to church
Indeed,
today.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Saeed.
We've been 2 writers.
Talking shit.
See you next time.
See ya.
2 Writers Talking Shit is an original podcast created by Melanie Mars and Saeed Crumpler. Our producer is Kayla Guess. Our audio engineer is T. Kelly.
Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you damn well please. All we ask is that you subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and give us a glowing review.
If you're not going to give us 5 stars or any glowing reviews, then why even log on? Save your rants for an open mic.
If you have any questions for us, and I do mean any, you can email us at 2writerstalkingshit@gmail.com. That's the number 2, and then writerstalkingshit@gmail.com.
See you next episode.
Bye.